Yes guys, welcome to the Fuse Meet. In today's video, we're gonna be analyzing and assessing both series La Casa de Papel, also known as Money Heist and Prison Break. We're also gonna be looking into both geniuses, El Professor of the Money Heist and Michael Scofield of the Prison Break, how their mind thinks and operates, how they adapt using creative minds to maneuver problems, and the role they play in their respective series.
I've got him on me. Are you kidding me? Am I supposed to be seeing something here? Look closer.
But before we get into it, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you can never miss another upload of the Fuse Meet. Let us begin things with the Prison Break. The series is built around two brothers. Lincon, who is falsely accused for killing off Vice President, and he is facing his death sentence in Fox River prison. The other brother is Michael Scofield, who is a structural engineer. He believes that his brother is innocent and then orchestrates this genius marvelous idea to break him out of Fox River. He tattoos himself, then robs a bank in order to try by all means to break his brother out. But the people behind Lincoln's arrest, the people who falsely accused him, who sets him up, is the company. The company is the organization who has power and influence, alongside with the Secret Service and the Vice President in their pockets. But however, moving inside Fox River, in Scofield's quest to break out his brother of prison, we are introduced to Fernando Sucre. Now, the best thing that could happen to you when you are inside the prison is to be cellmates with the man who has a plan to break out. And that plan involves your help. Sucre is Scofield's cellmate, and that's how he joins the gang. He wants to break out of Fox River because of his undying love for Mali Cruz, who is pregnant with his child. We are also introduced to a true captive of his own identity, Theodore Beckwell. Arrested in Alabama for killing of 6 students, he was indeed a psychopath, but who had survival instinct. He found a hole in Sucre and Scofield's cell, the hole that we were all planning to use in order to escape. He then threatens to tell everyone if they don't let him take along.
That doesn't just erase the man who killed 6 students in Alabama.
I guess that's where you're right. Because when you sent me here to this place with these people, it brought that old dirty bastard right back home. In fact, there was a candle in the window, just waiting for me to walk up them front steps. You know, I'm gonna get out of here someday. And when I do, don't think I won't remember what your front steps look like, Susan.
Moving on to Jonah Bruce, the mafia boss, who is also part of Scofield's plan, as he is said to provide him with transports after the breakouts in exchange for Flippanati's location. DB Cooper, who had money hidden somewhere before he was arrested, Twena, who joins the gang because of Scofield's favor, and AY, they all manage to escape. For every hero there's always a villain, and in Prison Break it comes in a form of no other than Brett Ballick. Ballick is a corrupt prison wardener who has a huge beef with Scofield. He always tries to get in the way of our genius's plans. But Scofield always gets what he wants, with the help of Sara Tancredi. Now Scofield's plan was to get close to Sara in order to get access to the infirmary, who is a prison doctor. However, they both fall in love with each other, with Sara leaving the door open for Scofield and the gang to escape. But in his final moments, in his last words, he tells the gang where the money is hidden. Then the gang successfully breaks out of Fox River, which brings us to season 2 of the Prison Break, Manhunt. After successfully breaking out of Fox River, wanted by both police and FBI as they are now fugitives, we are introduced to an FBI agent, Alexander Mahone, who is almost as smart as Scofield, as he could read and decipher his tattoos and he is able to counter his moves. But he is in the wrong end side of the rope, as he is being blackmailed by the company wanting him to kill each and every one of the 8 escapees. He ends up killing John, Awire and Twin, but he couldn't get the job done when it comes to Scofield, as Scofield outsmarts him and moves to Panama. With the rest of the gang moving to Panama, Mahone follows them, and that's where they are all arrested. Which brings us to Sona. Sona is Panama's maximum security prison, where Scofield, Mahone, Ballick and Tipek are all arrested. While outside, the company kidnaps Sara and LJ, blackmailing Scofield to break out one of their operatives, named Whistler. But with the help of Lincon outside, Scofield successfully breaks out Whistler. Which brings us to season 4 of The Break, Scylla. Scylla is the company's black book, implanted in the company's headquarters. It has 6 key cards, and each card had their own card holder. The operation being facilitated by the leader of the company, the general himself. But Scofield and the rest of the gang wanted Scylla in exchange for their freedom, as they made a deal with a government agent who goes by the name of Don Self. But they are able to successfully cop all 6 Scylla cards, with the help of Tipek posed up as Cole Pfeiffer. But Brett dies. He dies a hero, though his death was not in vain, as Scofield and the gang are able to retrieve Scylla successfully. When they all thought all was well and good, when they gave Scylla to Self, thinking that now they'll have their long lost freedom. But Self had other plans of his own. He betrays them, wanting to sell Scylla to the highest bidder. And all of Scofield and the rest of the gang's plans, all their efforts in search for freedom, were just in vain. All of their hopes for their charges to be exonerated, all gone. And that's when Scofield decides to shoulder all responsibilities by making a deal with the devil. That devil name is Presiding. Which brings us to the conclusion of The Prison Break, the final season, season 5. Presiding is the CIA agent. He makes a deal with Scofield, and the terms of that deal are that Scofield has to fake his death. Under his new identity, he has to use his talents. He has to use his creative mind to break people out of prison. Presiding then betrays Scofield, taking over his life, his wife and son, and sends Scofield into war zone, in a country with ongoing war, to break out a dictator. But Scofield eventually steps up to the plate, and with his new friend who goes by the name of Weeb, who will later find out that he is Tipek's son, he manages to break out of prison. He goes straight after Presiding, going head to head with him, demanding his life back. Eventually he outsmarts his Presiding, beating him in his own game, and gets his life back. And that is the conclusion of The Prison Break. And now moving on to CASA de Papel, also known as Money Heist. It all starts with a man who inherited an idea from his late father to rob the Royal Mint of Spain. He recruited a group of individuals in order to work with him to be his new companion and perform this beautiful plan. Together they called this man the Professor. It took them 5 months in order to study and master the plan. It took them 5 months in order to start performing and executing the plan, putting it all in together. Now dressed in red as they forge inside the Royal Mint of Spain, with an aim of making untraceable money. The key element of the Professor's plan is time, making 8 million euros per hour inside the Royal Mint. With Berlin leading the heist inside, given the reins by the Professor himself, as he knows the heist more and he is sensitive to talking to people, but he also had dysfunctional capabilities. Moving on to Tokyo, she's a hot badass, a ticking time bomb who always wants to party, but she trusts her guardian and his plans because he's a lucky man. With Rio her weakness, we really enjoyed their romance. Next up is Denver, the funniest member of the gang. He resorts to shooting mommy in the leg in order to save her life in the end of the felon life. With him working side by side with his father, Moscow, who digs the hole inside the bank, the hole they will use in order to escape. We are introduced to Hilinski also, who are twins. They both went to war together and went to prison together, and now they are doing heist together. Nairobi, who's a fucking boss, in charge of printing of money, and Monica, also known as Stockholm. After being shot by Denver, she falls in love with him, and she's accused of having a Stockholm syndrome, hence the name Stockholm. But again, for every hero there's always a villain, and in Money Heist we have Arturito Romani, little Arturito. Before the heist he was a director of the Royal Mint, and now he's a troublesome hostage who always trying to cause problems for the gang. He plans the first escape of hostages, but he was unable to escape himself. But for every heist that involves the adoption of hostages, we have an inspector. Inspector Rachel Morillo. She is smart. She is communicating with the professor, negotiating with him. She is able to counter professor's move. And plan one of her own as she's the inspector and she's in charge of the negotiation. And I believe she would have won her battle with the professor if the professor wasn't the man who was sharing her battle. As the professor targets Rachel, posed up in another identity as Salvo, as he wants to measure the progress of the police. He wants to know how they plan on stopping them on the inside. He wants to know how much they know about them. He wants to know their measures and plan of action. But eventually Rachel discovers the professor's true identity. She discovers that he's been right under her nose all this time. That he is the brains behind the heist. That he is a genius. She holds him at gunpoint. But the professor manages to escape with the help of the Serbs. While inside the Royal Mint of Spain, Moscow and also dies. When Moscow tries to cover up Sucre from flying in with the motorbike, he is shot 3 times. And also when hostages are trying to escape, hitting also in the head, they both die. But in the end, the gang manages to make 984 million euros. With Berlin sacrificing himself trying to cover up the vault, buying time for the gang to escape, they successfully escape. And they are set to live happy ever after. Or so we thought. With Rio and Tokyo living on their island together for 2 years, eventually Tokyo gets bored. She wants to party as always. She ends up leaving Rio on the island, with Rio calling her on a phone that they bought from a black market, which they thought is untraceable. But it is traceable. With the police discovering Rio's location, that's how he's captured and that's how he's tortured. Which brings us to season 3 of the Money Heist. After Rio's arrest, Tokyo gets in contact with the professor, begging him to save Rio's life, and then the professor gets the gang back together in order to save Rio's life in the only way they know how to, with the heist. But this one wasn't to rob the Royal Mint of Spain, it was to rob the Bank of Spain. This heist was however planned by Berlin while he was alive, who we are informed that he is Professor's brother. He planned the heist with the help of Palermo, his friend, who is also a genius. But just like Berlin, he is also leading the heist inside the Bank of Spain. With the help of new faces, Lisbon, also known as Rachel, who joins the gang after leaving the police force. Marcel, the animal lover, who's helping the professor outside, and he's tying up all loose ends. Inside the Bank of Spain, the gang is able to penetrate the vault filled with gold and gaining access to state secrets. But for every heist there is an inspector, Inspector Sierra, the woman who captured and tortured Rio. And she was smart herself, and she is able to go up against both Rachel and Professor. She is able to neutralize their moves. She used Nairobi's son in order to get her to drop her guard down, which results in Nairobi being shot by the police. She is interrogating Rachel and she was winning until the professor intervened. Now back inside the Bank of Spain, the gang is able to free Rio by using the state secrets as leverage. But with Rio they get in, who couldn't stop Candia from breaking loose. After Candia broke loose, he goes after the gang, causing havoc and terror. He ends up killing Nairobi. But eventually the gang is able to constrain Candia. While outside, the professor comes up with a brilliant idea to win the war. He comes up with 4 missiles, and those missiles were the truth. He manages to free Rachel from police custody, and then transfers her safely to the Bank of Spain with Marcel's help. But when we thought all was well and good, Sierra discovers Professor's location. She discovers his hideout and holds him at gunpoint. And this was the conclusion of season 4. Plenty of more to come in season 5. We really can't wait. And now guys, moving on to both individual geniuses themselves. Scofield of the Prison Break and Professor of the Money Heist. As we begin things with Scofield, we hear what his doctor has to say about the functions of his mind.
Needs it in there.
What did you treat him for?
Well, Michael suffered from a couple of things. One was a condition called low latent inhibition.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with the term.
Well, people who suffer from low latent inhibition see everyday things just like you or I do, like this lamp, for instance. But where we just process the image of a lamp, they process everything. The stem, the bulb, the bolts, even the washers inside. Their brains are more open to incoming stimuli in the surrounding environment. Other people's brains, yours and mine, shut out the same information. We have to do it in order to keep our sanity. If someone with a low IQ has low latent inhibition, it almost always results in mental illness. But if someone has a high IQ, it almost always results in creative genius.
Do you think Michael's a genius?
Well, I think that word's been derogated in the media these days. But in the classic sense of the word, yes, I do.
You said there was something else you treated him for?
He came to me with absolutely no sense of self-worth. The loss of both parents very often does that to a child. But with the low latent inhibition, something interesting happened to Michael. He became very attuned to all the suffering around him. He couldn't shut it out. He became a rescuer, one of those people who are more concerned with other people's welfare than their own.
I didn't know all this about him.
And maybe you don't know Michael Scofield.
Yeah.
He truly indeed is a genius. He demonstrates it by not only breaking out of Fox River, but by breaking out of multiple prisons. Through proper planning, analyzing and assessing smaller details around him in order to come up with a genius idea. He manages to copy all 6 sealer cards without being detected and took down the company with the help of his amigos. Scofield showed his leadership qualities by leading ex-cons into freedom. He saved his brother. He maintained control and always have a plan in his head. He speaks in code with Sara and is able to save her life by once breaking her out of prison. He showed that he had care for others and he never goes a day without a plan. And now moving on to El Profesor. The professor is this genius introvert who does a lot of talking with his mind. He researches and anticipates on what people will do, how will they react, which measures are they going to take, and what will be their plan of action. He then plans the measure that he's gonna take, one better than what they are thinking. He manages to infiltrate the police, post up at Salvo, right straight into the lion's den. He protects the gang from outside, tying up all loose ends, fixing some of their mistakes that they made. He planned the first heist that he inherited from his father. He improvised and modified the second one planned by Parlemo and Ballick, leading the gang into 2 high-profile heists. The other key element of Professor's plan was control. Even when he lost that control, thinking that Rachel is dead, thinking that they killed Rachel, he managed to regain that control with Tokyo's help, ending up outsmarting Inspector Sierra, Prieto, Colonel Tamayo, and the whole police force, sending Rachel inside the Bank of Spain right under their noses. But that is it guys from us today. Please get down the comments down below and tell us your thoughts on both Money Heist and Prison Break. Which series do you like the most? And who do you think is a better genius between Michael Scofield and the Professor? Thanks again for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the Fuse News. Bye bye.